Welcome to Gunsmoke Theater. I'm Dennis Daly. Very few radio or television programs had such an impact on their medium that they changed everything. One of those shows was Gunsmoke. Yes, it ran 20 years on television, but the TV show was a child of the radio show, which itself ran nearly a decade. Sit back now for the next hour as we go back into the archives and play some of those great episodes of the show that changed everything, Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke began in 1952 and ran for 9 years, and we're up to 1957 now as we continue to look at the beginning, the middle, and eventually the end of radio's Gunsmoke.
Gunsmoke. Around Dodge City and in the territory on West, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with a U.S. Marshal and the smell of gun smoke. Gunsmoke, starring William Conrad. The story of the violence that moved west with young America. And the story of a man who moved with it.
I'm that man. Matt Dillon, United States Marshal. The first man they look for and the last they want to meet. It's a chancy job, and it makes a man watchful. And a little lonely.
Still here, Mr. Dillon. That's his buggy.
Yeah, he's here. It's a good thing, too.
Sure do hope she ain't bad hurt.
So do I, Chester.
That you, Matt?
Yeah, Doc.
Screen's unhooked. Come on into the bedroom.
All right.
In here, Matt. Ah, good. See if you can talk some sense into this cantankerous old lady.
Well, I've known her for some years, and I've never been able to yet. How do you feel, Miss Larkin?
Good enough to get up and get on with my chores, but this broken-winded old veterinary claims I got to stay in bed for a week.
Oh, Doc's right sometimes, just by the law of average.
Oh, Mrs. Larkin, that's...
What have you been up to, Miss Larkin? Going in for bulldog and steers at your age?
Oh, just a piddling little old accident. And the way you and Doc and Chester come running out here, you'd think you was all in my will.
Well, you mean we ain't in it, man?
Chester, it wouldn't do you no good if you was. I ain't going no place. I've got another good 20 years in me yet.
Well, if you go around wrestling steers, you haven't. How'd it happen?
Oh, that confounded breeding bull I bought last fall. He's meaner than an acre of snakes. Charges anything that moves. Can't even turn him onto the range. I have to keep him in a special built corral.
Well, that was a darn fool thing to do, getting in there at all.
I got about halfway across the corral when that dad-blamed critter tossed his head and jerked his nose ring out of the hook. He saw me moving, so he come for me. Lonnie'd been wearing his gun, he'd have shot him. And thanks the Lord he wasn't. I got a lot of money tied up in that bull.
Your life ought to be worth a little something, you know.
Well, I still got it. I made the fence before he hit me, and then he missed me with the horns. Just butted me some before I could reach the top rail and haul up out of the way. Well, I'll be as good as new this time tomorrow.
Good as new?
Good as new.
Good as new, she said. Any time an old wagon wheel hits a rock, Mrs. Larkin, it always leaves at least some of the spokes loose.
You speak for yourself, you old billy goat. You're just itching to make a profit off my infirmity.
Well, then at least you admit that you're hurt, Miss Larkin.
I'll live to bury this old weasel.
Old? You're talking to a man in his prime, Mrs. Larkin.
Prime.
Well, I'm going to fetch some liniment out of the buggy. Now, don't you wallow around and loosen those bandages. You got a busted rib, young lady.
It's cracked some, maybe, but it ain't busted. Oh, he's a good doctor, confound him. But I sure enjoy plaguing him.
Oh, Doc does some of that himself, Mrs. Larkin. Tell me how things been going around the place.
Oh, they couldn't be better, Marshal. Except for this morning, of course, and that other little accident a couple of weeks ago.
No? What other accident?
Oh, a saddle girth broke on me, and I got sewed up in the North Meadow.
Oh?
Wasn't nothing, really. Way it turned out, I let on my feet, as usual. I'm pretty spry for an old woman.
You're pretty lucky, too.
I am lucky, Marshal. Things seem to work out for me, like Lonnie Wells riding in here and asking for a job. Oh, the day he come, I was just about at the end of my rope.
How long's Lonnie been with you now?
5.5 months. And he's made it seem like a different world. After Ed died, I could go on because I still had my son. But 3 years ago, you remember, he was took from me, too.
Yeah, I remember.
That little Dan, I just didn't have no heart to go on living. Then Lonnie come. He straighter took his place.
Mm-hmm. Miss Larkin, where'd Lonnie come from?
Oh, Texas, somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's a fine boy, Marshal. Just the age little Dan has been. Oh, he's like another son to me. Not just a hard hand. He's...
Miss Larkin, you sure you're feeling all right?
Yeah. I reckon I'm shook up more than I knew. Marshal, there's hot water on the stove, a box of tea on the shelf.
Oh, well, I'll fix you some. Now, you just lie back there and take it easy.
I'll give you a hand.
I'm much obliged to you both.
You still of the same mind, Mr. Dillon?
Yeah.
Well, that young Lonnie Welch is a shifty-eyed cuss if there ever was one.
It's worse than just being shifty-eyed, Chester.
Matt?
Yeah.
I want something real bad.
Well, sure, lots of time. What do you want?
That's the crazy part. I don't even know.
No?
It's just something. Something I don't have, I guess.
Couldn't be spring fever, could it?
It might. Except I felt the same way in the fall. Sometimes I think it's this country out here, Matt. The prairie.
Oh, what do you mean?
Just so darn big, empty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so.
You feel so alone, like something's lacking in you. So you try to fit things in, things or people or something.
Yeah, I know. Matter of fact, I know an old woman who's doing that right now. She's trying to find a substitute for her dead son.
Who's that?
Miss Larkin, out west of town.
Oh, with Lonnie Welch, you mean?
Uh-huh.
Oh, he's sitting over there in that poker game right now.
Yeah, I've been watching him. He throws money around pretty free for a hired ranch hand, doesn't he?
The way I hear it, she gives him all the money he wants.
Yeah, but maybe not as fast as he wants.
What do you mean, Matt?
Well, early last month, Mr. Bodkin over at the bank came and told me that Miss Larkin had been in and made a will.
Yeah.
She's leaving everything she's got to Lonnie.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Even more so after she'd had a couple of close calls. Accidents, supposedly.
Oh, well, Matt, something ought to be done.
Well, you can't hang a man on a hunch, especially when he hasn't done it yet.
Well, yeah, but there's got to be something.
Well, I've been figuring on talking to him. In fact, I think I'll do it right now.
Yeah.
I'll see you a little later, Kitty.
Yeah, sure, Matt.
A man's luck can't run bad forever. I reckon I'll stay in and raise another 5.
You mind holding up this hand for a couple of minutes, boys?
Oh, what's up, Marshal? What's the trouble, Marshal? Poker against the law now in Dodge?
No. I just want to talk to you for a minute, Lonnie.
You asking or ordering?
Come on, let's take a walk, huh?
Sure, why not? A man's a mind for talk, I'll oblige him. Just leave everything laid, gents, right there on the table. Getting this kind of personal attention is liable to flatter a man some, Marshal.
Yeah, sure.
We're right handy to the bar. I'll be glad to buy you a drink.
Lonnie, where did you come from before you hit Dutch?
Oh, here and there. Why?
Ever been in Virginia City?
Not as far as I recollect.
I think you better think again. I put out some bulletins a while back, and the only answer I got's from Virginia City.
That's so?
Seems you were working a silver claim with a partner named Pete Ryder until he turned up murdered one day.
They must have mentioned something about the jury acquitting me on that, didn't they?
Yeah. Lack of evidence.
Well, in that case, I reckon I'll...
Just a minute.
You got something else in mind, Marshal?
Yeah, I have. I want you to know that I'd figure it was real suspicious if Ms. Larkin was to die suddenly by accident. Like yesterday with that bull.
Now, look, that bull's a born killer, Marshal. You don't think I trained him, do you?
No, I think you let Ms. Larkin go out in the middle of the corral and then turned him loose.
And you told Mrs. Larkin that, too, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, she told me. And she also told me she orders you off the place. She wouldn't listen to such things.
Lonnie, if anything happens to her, I'll get you for it, so help me if it takes me the rest of my life.
I'll see you around, Marshal. I got a pat hand in this game.
You better have, mister. Because you're betting your life on it.
Doggone it, Matt. There's just no sense to the way you play checkers.
Why do you say that, Doc?
Well, you make some of the galldarnest moves I've ever seen. Well, you're worse than Chester.
No?
Only time you beat me is when I let you do it, Doc.
Well, then you're mighty generous-natured. Oh, look what you done, Matt. Look what you done there. You left one of your men just sitting there. You see that? Waiting for me to take it. So, you see?
Yeah, I see. Well, there. All right, take another one, Doc.
Well, if you want to give me the game... well, your move, man.
Okay, Doc.
Wait, listen now. What the...
That's three of you men, Doc. That puts you down one. And the way I'm figuring, you're beat.
You're a generous teacher, too, ain't you, Doc?
Oh, sure, that's how you do it. Yeah, you keep Chester talking like that so as to get my mind off the game.
That's right, Doc.
Yeah, you've a mighty sneaky way of playing, if you ask me, too.
Evening, gentlemen.
Oh, how are you, Miles?
Hello, Miles. Am I breaking in on anything important?
No, come on in. Come on
Well, I can't stay. I just wanted some information, Matthew.
No?
I thought you might be able to help me.
Information about what?
Well, at Mrs. Larkin's place out west of town, what do you figure it's worth?
Oh, it's kind of hard to say. It's a good ranch, all right.
Aye, that's what I was thinking. And, well, if a man could buy it cheap...
What do you mean, if a man could buy it cheap?
Well, I heard it might be on the market before the end of the week.
Who told you that?
Well, a young fellow that worked for Mrs. Larkin. He let it slip this afternoon. Oh, he'd been drinking kind of heavy, I suppose. Otherwise, he wouldn't
Do you know where he is now?
Aye, well, somebody was saying he couldn't even make it back out to the ranch. He took a room at the Dodge House for the night.
Chester, come on.
Yes, sir. You think that I ought to make an offer for the place, Matthew?
No, I wouldn't bother, Miles. Not just yet, anyway.
My, he sure is dead to the world, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah.
Blind drunk, the clerk said. Didn't want to be disturbed before noon tomorrow.
Well, he's gonna be disturbed. Give me that pass key, Chester.
Here you are.
Thanks.
I bet he's going to be madder than a wet hen being dragged out of bed this way.
Yeah, I'll bet he is. See if you can find the lamp and get it lit, huh?
Yes, sir. Must be over here on the bureau. Mr. Dillon, look, he ain't here.
That bed hasn't even been slept in.
Yeah, and the window standing wide open. He could have went out of it.
Yeah. Well, he's got a good start on us, Chester. Come on, let's get moving.
Look yonder, Mr. Dillon. There's a fire at the corner of the house.
Yeah, that's against the wall of the bedroom, Chester. Come on.
Somebody's there. Either helping it or trying to put it out.
Trying to put it out, Chester. That's Miss Larkin.
Oh, well, then Lonnie ain't been here yet, huh?
I wouldn't bet on that. There are a couple of buckets at the water trough there, Chester. Let's give her a hand.
Yes, sir. That's you, Marshal?
Be right with you, Miss Larkin. All right, you ready, Chester? Let's go.
It don't look near as bad as I thought at first.
Oh, she's about got it put out, I think.
A little water here against the wall ought to do it.
Right. All right, throw the other bucket in the same place, Chester.
Yes, sir. Well, now. Looks like that just about does it. We'll touch and go there for a while.
We better watch it for a few minutes. Those embers might flare up again.
Didn't do too much harm, looks like. Just burned the outside wall some.
Yeah, it was mostly just trash burning. All piled up again in the house that way.
What's the matter, Chester?
Mr. Dillon, you smell coal oil?
Yeah, I do. Miss Larkin, did Lonnie start this?
How'd you know?
Well, he made a big show of spending the night in town. We went over to the Dodge house, and he wasn't in his room.
I don't know what it was woke me. But I looked out the window, and there he was. He'd piled brush against the wall and was just setting fire to it. Aimed for me to die right in my bed. Marshal, I guess I owe you an apology. You was right. I was wrong.
Well, Lonnie's a smooth talker, Miss Larkin. Anybody might have been taken in. But he won't get far. We'll find him before sunup.
I don't reckon that'll be much of a chore, Marshal, finding him.
Oh?
He seen me at the window, and he picked up a heavy chunk of wood and come into the house. When Lonnie opened the bedroom door and come for me with that club, I shot him. He's laying in there dead.
Land's sake.
Well, you got nothing to worry about, Miss Larkin. Any jury in the world would call it self-defense.
I ain't worrying, Marshal. Not about no jury. But it's going to be mighty lonesome around here again. Without Lonnie on the place. No, I ain't going to like that.
Well, maybe not, but being dead might be pretty lonesome, too, Miss Larkin. You just can't tell.
GUNSMOKE, produced and directed by Norman McDonald, stars William Conrad as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal. Featured in the cast were Parley Bear as Chester, Howard McNear as Doc, and Georgia Ellis as Kitty. George Walsh speaking. Join us again next week for another specially transcribed story on GUNSMOKE.
know, it's interesting when we look at old-time radio. There's a show from 57 of not very good audio quality, but later in the run. But some of the original shows we have are fantastic. Quickly now into show 2, because when it's over, a surprise.
Gunsmoke. Around Dodge City and in the territory on West, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with a U.S. Marshal and the smell of gun smoke. Gunsmoke, starring William Conrad. The story of the violence that moved west with young America. And the story of a man who moved with it.
I'm that man. Matt Dillon, United States Marshal. The first man they look for and the last they want to meet. It's a chancy job, and it makes a man watchful. And a little lonely.
Mr. Dillon, you want another cup of coffee?
No, I don't think so, Judge.
I'll just pour out another little swaller for me and wait. Mr. Dillon, come here and look out this window.
What?
Yeah, but for gracious sakes, come here.
What are you talking about?
Oh, my goodness, look at that. Come here.
Chester, what's the matter with you?
She's coming here, Mr. Dillon.
Who's coming here?
I don't know, but she is the prettiest girl I ever seen in all my life. Why, she just can't be real. She is the one prettiest girl I ever...
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, ma'am. Well, won't you come in?
Thank you, sir. Would one of you gentlemen be the United States Marshal here?
Yes, ma'am, I am. Matt Dillon. Is there anything I can do for you?
Well, my name is Colleen Tawney, Marshal Dillon. And I've got the most terrible, awful trouble you ever heard of.
Oh? Well, would you like to sit down and tell me about it?
Well, that's mighty kind of you, Marshal.
Here, take this chair, Miss Colleen. Let me dust it off a little dab for you.
I'm right obliged to you, Mr...
Chester Wesley Proud. How do you do, ma'am?
I'm proud to make your acquaintance, Mr. Chester.
There you are.
Thank you. I just love people. They're always so nice to you. Except that... Oh.
You, mentioned some kind of trouble?
I'm an orphan, Marshal Dillon. All alone in this world.
Oh?
I was brought up by a dear old aunt, mostly in the South. But then she took me to San Francisco. And last month, she passed away.
Oh, that's too bad, Miss Tawney.
Colleen. Just about everybody calls me Colleen. It's kind of Irish, I reckon. Though I'm more Southern than most anything else.
You are?
I came from San Francisco on the stagecoach. And I had just enough money to get me to my kinfolks down south. If I got any kinfolks anymore, and... I could just kill whoever done it, Marshal Dillon.
Whoever did what, ma'am?
What took all my money? I put my pocketbook on that baggage truck just for a minute. Over at the depot it was. People are always so nice to you. You just don't think.
Somebody robbed you, is that it?
Every living cent I had in this world. Why, I'm a pauper, Marshal Dillon. I'm destitute.
Oh, well, can I fetch you a dipper of water or something, Miss Colleen?
I'm all alone without nobody to turn to, no, even a roof over my head or anything to eat or anything.
Oh, well, now, it's not as bad as all that, ma'am.
It's not? Really?
Well, I think we can fix you up with a room over at the Dodge House for a few days.
You could?
Well, by that time, something may turn up. Maybe we can get your money back.
Really?
Would you like a dipper of water, Miss Colleen?
I knew the minute I walked in that door you'd help me.
Miss Colleen, would you like a dipper of water?
No, thank you, Mr. Chester. I just knew if I told you. My troubles, Marshal Dillon, you just make everything all right again.
Why, you don't have to worry about a thing. I'll arrange with Mr. Dobie over at the Dodge House.
Well, good morning, all. Oh, yes, it's a mighty fine morning, too. Well, I didn't know you had company, man.
This is Dr. Adams, Miss Colleen Tawney.
Well, I'm pleased to meet you, miss.
Are you a real doctor, a physician?
Oh, yes, indeed, young lady.
My goodness.
Welcome to Dodge City. And if you want me for anything, my office is just upstairs.
Doc.
You know, medical examination, diagnosis, treatment, service, medicine, drugs, anything you need. And I won't charge you a cent. Person has to look after his health, you know.
Chester, will you take Miss Tawney over to the Dodge House?
I'd be glad to, Mr. Dillon. This way, ma'am.
Oh, you're all just so nice. I think people are just wonderful.
I'll be in touch with you, ma'am.
I sure do hope so. Bye.
Goodbye. Well, Doc, there goes trouble.
Trouble? A girl who looks like that? Why, Matt, she's like a dream in spring. She's as wide-eyed and helpless as a newborn baby.
Yeah, Doc, that's exactly what I mean. Huh.
Well, good afternoon, Matthew.
How are you, Miles?
Something I can do for you, is there?
Oh, no, I was just passing by and I saw Chester back there. Looks like he's stocking up for a trip or something.
I haven't seen any of his money yet.
Well, you're not likely to. Chester isn't exactly the biggest spender in the world. You know?
Oh, I've often suspected that, Matthew.
Hello, Chester.
Well, hello there, Mr. Dillon. What in the world are you doing here?
No, I just came in to satisfy my curiosity.
Curiosity?
Mm-hmm.
About what?
You going on a buffalo hunt or something?
No, sir. I was just thinking of buying a few groceries. If I can find anything here that's fit to eat.
Fit to eat?
Oh, well, now, Mr. McTagg, I didn't mean nothing by that.
I beg to tell you that you're in the establishment of Miles McTagg, a name that stands for principle, integrity, moral
You're
responsibility.
getting started, and I didn't mean for you to get started.
I'm a man who believes in honest toil for an honest profit, and no shilly-shallying around. A man who gives honest value on every item in the store. And whoever started that rumor about weevils in my flour barrel is an outright liar.
Sure, Mr. McTagg, sure.
Anybody can get weevils in hot weather.
Well, of course they can.
Yeah. Well, now, are you really planning to buy anything, Chester?
Well, sure I am.
What?
Well, whatever somebody could use if they're not set up to cook, if they're just living in one room.
Well, a few pounds of beans and some cracklings ought to do it.
Well, sure, for a mule skinner, I need something better than that.
What's the matter with all this stuff you already got picked out, Chester?
Well, now, sir, that's kind of what I had in mind.
No?
Beans and cracklings ain't fit for a lady.
A lady? Ah, so that's it. Now I know what you're up to.
Well, now, Mr. Dillon,
Colleen Tawney, is it? Well, I haven't seen that girl yet, but she certainly must be something. She's got everybody turning handsprings, eh?
Yeah, she sure has, Mom.
Well, now, she's just a kid. Somebody's got to look after her, that's all.
Somebody's already looking after her. I sent over a load of food a couple of hours ago.
You did?
Aye. Bull Riga bought it.
Bull Rieger. He's old enough to be her father.
He didn't act very fatherly. all dressed up as though he was going to a preaching.
Oh, that old fool.
Well, now I hear that he's quite the devil with the women, Chester. You're going to have to get up and hump some if you're going to run rivals with him.
Look here.
Never mind, Chester. Look, before you pay for this stuff, I think I'll go over and have a little talk with Miss Tawny.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, I'm just sure you must be mistaken, Marshal Dillon. Why, he seems to be about the nicest man a girl would ever want to meet.
Look, Miss Tawny, you're young, and I've known Bull Rigger for a long time. He's a rough, tough, hard-living old devil, and he's just no kind of a man a young girl ought to associate with, that's all.
Well, my dear aunt always said, raised her soul, that innocence is its own defense.
Yeah, but your aunt never met Bull Rigger.
Now, Marshal Dillon, Mr. Rigger is just being kind and helpful, just like you are.
Yeah, sure.
Everybody's been so nice and thoughtful. Mr. Chester's already been by 3 times today. Doc was here,
That
too.
old goat here, too.
He took my temperature and my pulse and said I was just fine as far as he could tell.
Yeah,
And
well,
Mr.
look...
Rigger just insisted on helping me. He said he had a little old empty house up the street.
Oh, yeah, that would be the old Sackler place.
Well, he said I could just live in it for nothing as long as I pleased. And, of course, I told him I wouldn't think of such a thing.
Well, good.
And then he said he'd give me the house.
Give it to you?
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what I'd done.
Don't you know how to knock, Rigger?
Not when the door's open, Marshal. Well, I went and done it, little lady. Got it drawed up all proper and legal over at the bank. There's the deed.
Ah, Mr. Rigger.
The house is yours. Lock, stock, and barrel. No strings on it. You can move in right now if you're a mind to.
Isn't it wonderful, Marshal Dillon?
Yeah, it's great.
Well, I'm just going to sit right down and read this little old paper right through.
Rigger, would you come out into the hall for a minute? I'd like to talk to you.
I know what you're going to say, Marshal.
That girl's just a kid, Rigger.
I'm aiming to marry that little lady, if she'll have me.
You're what?
Oh, I know, Marshal. I've been kind of cussed all my life, but you're seeing a changed man is standing here.
I'd better be, Rigger. Or I'll change you myself, and don't you forget it.
Matt, you men are all alike. Every last one of you.
Is that something you just learned recently, Kitty?
No, but I sure have been reminded of it the last 3 days, watching them all flutter around that little Colleen Tawny.
Now, don't count me in on that, Kitty. I'm only helping her. She's just a kid.
Well, she's done pretty well for just a kid. Flat broke 3 days ago, now she's got a house of her own, enough food to last her a month.
Well, Kitty.
Chester runs over there 3 and 4 times a day with something else for her to eat. Doc stops by morning and night to check on her
They
health.
feel sorry for her, Kitty. She's an orphan.
She probably drowned her parents.
Now, Kitty.
Matt, I know these helpless little southern belles, especially the big green-eyed kind. Sam will never hire one here in the Long Branch, and I go right along with him.
But why?
Because all she has to do is bat those long eyelashes, and men will start killing one another over her.
Kitty, I've already told you no matter what I think, it's my job to protect her.
Protect her. Look, Matt, do you think they put bars on a tiger's cage to protect the tiger?
Oh, Kitty.
All right, Matt. Oh, shut up. But I just hope you're all still on your feet when the smoke finally clears.
Getting late, Matt.
Yeah, that's right, Doc. It's getting
Guess I
late.
better be running along.
Won't do you any good, though, Doc. Bull Rieger's calling on her. He's been over there all evening.
He has?
Uh-huh. Chester's hanging around outside in case she needs help, as he puts it.
I can't find it. She's more than likely will, too, with that ruffian in the house.
She ought to have a cultured man, I guess. Nice and refined. You happen to know anybody like that, Doc?
Well, yes, I do. I've been kind of thinking some the last few days.
Forget it. You're old enough to be her grandfather.
In Europe, they don't look at it like that. They're civilized.
Yeah, but this happens to be Dodge City, Doc.
Oh, well, at least a man can dream.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm just talking, man. I just like sitting and looking at her.
You and Chester both.
That Bull Rieger, though. I do believe he's real serious.
Well, he sure acts like it.
All right, Marshal, where is she? What have you done with her?
What's the trouble, Rieger?
Well, she's gone. That's the trouble.
Yeah.
Bag and baggage, and you had something to do with it.
Oh, now, wait a minute.
She is gone, Mr. Dillon. And she's took all her belongings. I went in the house and looked.
Oh?
She must have snuck out the back way. I was right out there in front the whole time.
Were you out in front, too?
Well, we was sitting and talking, and I was teaching her draw poker, and I reckon I must have dozed off for a minute.
Drunk, more than likely.
Never you mind, Doc. I got the stomach for a fair amount of liquor, but she just kept filling up my glass.
So you taught her draw poker, huh? How much did you lose, Rieger?
About $100, as far as I could tell, but how'd you know I lost?
That's pretty easy.
You mean you reckon she was cheating, Marshal? Huh?
You were there.
But I wasn't paying no attention. I figured it was just a joke, sort of. I kept plaguing her to marry me, and she was wearing a real pretty lacy thing.
And you paid too much for it, Rieger.
Oh, come on in, Miles. It's open house.
I could have sold you one of them house robes for half the price.
Well, never mind that now. You got to do something, Marshal. You got to find her.
She left town on the 10 o'clock train.
Are you sure of that, Miles?
I walked her to the station. Fine young woman. I'm real glad I didn't meet her any sooner. I might have cut up as crazy as Rieger here.
Marshal, you got to send a wire. Have her took off the train.
Are you willing to go into court, Rieger, and tell what happened?
Yes, I sure am, Marshal. I'd go in... No, I'd be laughing stock of the country. All right. At least she couldn't take the house with her.
No, and a mighty lucky thing for me, she couldn't.
What do you mean?
She sold it to me. Signed over the deed and everything. $600 cash.
What? Well, it's worth $1,000.
Aye, that's about what I figured it at.
Marshal,
I'm sorry, Rieger, but you gave it to her. No strings. Now, if she wanted to sell it to Miles, she had a legal right to.
If I get my hands on that girl, so help me, I'll...
You won't do anything, Rieger. Nobody will. We've all been outsmarted. There's nothing we can do about it but just sit still and keep our mouth shut.
Yeah, but I'd...
Doc's right. You forget it, Rieger. You can afford it. Well, at least we've learned one thing from all this.
What's that?
It's like a friend of mine said to me last night. I don't put bars on a tiger's cage to protect the tiger.
GUNSMOKE. Produced and directed by Norman McDonald.
stars William Conrad as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal. Featured in the cast were Parley Bear as Chester, Howard McNear as Doc, and Georgia Ellis as Kitty. George Walsh speaking. Join us again next week for another specially transcribed story on Gunsmoke. This is the United States Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.
Very early on, when Gunsmoke was trying to get off the ground, they tinkered around with it, if you remember. Remember that first audition record they did when it was Mark Dillon? Mark Dillon Goes to Gouge Eye, and Rye Billsbury played Mark Dillon. And then the second audition that same year, 1949, with Howard Culver. Now, by the time they resurrected the idea again in 1952, they were ready to go with Howard Culver, but he was engaged in the show Straight Arrow and could not do another Western. But during all of that time, in the first year of trying to put it together and during the hiatus, they started putting together demos to take to clients, prospective clients. Would you please sponsor our brand new show? So after Gunsmoke got off the ground with William Conrad as Matt Dillon, a little 8 or 9 minute promo was done, kind of a snippet to show somebody who might want to sponsor it what it was like. And we found that little snippet.
In the field of adventure, one new program has caused more comment and excitement in recent weeks than any entertainment series in many seasons. Variety, in their review, used such words as first-rate, high-level, suspense, and excitement. And these words have not been confined to trade papers. Popular magazines and newspapers have added their own accolades. For here is a mature, adult, blazing Western that tops them all. CBS Radio is proud to present this brief segment of Gunsmoke. Dodge City and in the territory on West, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with a U.S. Marshal and the smell of gun smoke. Gunsmoke, the story of the violence that moved west with young America. The story of a man who moved with it. Matt Dillon, United States Marshal.
Need any more cartridges, Mr. Dillon?
No.
I got the greener loaded.
Unloaded. I don't want a shotgun.
Yes, sir. Do you want me to come with you?
You want to come?
No, sir. I guess not. But I will.
Better stay here then, Chester.
This make me a coward, Mr. Dillon?
How do you feel?
Like a coward.
Lassiter scares me, sir.
But you were willing to come anyway. Figure it out for yourself.
Good luck, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah. If, I'm not back, don't forget those reports have to be mailed tomorrow.
I won't forget. Mr. Dillon?
Yeah.
You ever get scared?
Sure. Better keep yourself busy.
Marshal! Mind if I walk along?
Not at all, Doc.
Yeah, kind of anxious to get a look at this new corpse of mine. Lassiter's sure done us a favor picking Dodge to die in. This'll put us in the history books for sure.
You're a little premature, aren't you, Doc?
Not a bit. Oh, maybe a little foresighted. You know, they say Lassiter's packing 18 slugs in him. 18 slugs, my goodness. He sure has been a lot of gunfights.
Yeah, so they say.
Mm-hmm. Guess he's got the biggest gun rep in this whole section. Outside of maybe Ben Thompson or Wes Harden. And you, of course.
He's waiting at the Ala Fraganza, Doc. You better not walk in with me.
Oh, don't you worry. I'm not sticking my snoot into no shooting. No, sirree. Hey, Marshal.
Yeah, what is it?
You are going to win, aren't you? I sure hate to work on the bodies of my friends. Makes it too darn personal.
I'll do what I can, Doc.
You watch him close, Marshal. Don't let him pull a hideout.
Hello, Lassiter.
Hi, Matt. Been a long time.
Yeah.
Drink with me?
Why not?
Harry, 2 whiskeys. Harry, get up from behind the bar.
Sure, Mr. Lester. Sure.
Oh, don't spill it.
Leave it on the bar, Harry. We'll pour our own.
Yes, Marshal. Yes, sir. Here, sir.
How's your shoulder, Lester?
Aches a little, bad weather. Still carrying your lead, Matt.
There you are.
Yeah. You should have killed me, Matt.
Maybe. It was a long time ago.
Matt, I want you to know I bear no grudge. But it has to be.
I know.
We're gunfighters, you and me, both the same. Yet not the same. What's in our blood. That's why, Matt. That's why I have to brace you. I got to know for sure.
There's no grudge, Lassiter. Yeah, your health.
And yours. Straight up?
Straight up. You call it.
Now.
Oh, it was beautiful, Matt. Simply beautiful.
Was it?
Why, yes, and it was close to. For a moment, I wasn't sure who. Yeah. Oh, Marshal, your neck. You're hit.
Just a scratch. It'll be all right.
But here, just...
Let it go. Go and get Lassiter. He's all yours.
Hmm? Well, of course.
And you'll be happy to know he's got 20 slugs in him now. I couldn't tell anyone, but the bitterness ice in my stomach made me sick as I remembered Lassiter as a friend, now dead by my gun. And then I got over it. I always got over it. The frontier code was a harsh one. I knew my job was one that had to be done if the West was to ever see peace. As long as killers like Lassiter lived, I'd carry a gun and use it. It was the way it had to be. Sometimes a man's dying was the end of it. And sometimes the beginning of something worse.
Marshal Matt Dillon
Yes? What can I do for you, miss?
died.
Miss, I don't know.
It's Mrs. Lassiter.
Oh.
You see? You've done quite a bit for me already, Mr. Dillon. You've made me a widow.
Sit down, Mrs. Lassiter. Here, let me get you some
thank
water.
you.
I didn't know Lassiter was married.
Would it have mattered?
No, I guess not.
You're just like all the rest of them. A killer, lusting for blood like a wild animal.
Mrs. Lassiter.
Only you're worse. You hide it behind a badge. My husband was in town less than 2 hours, but you couldn't wait, could you? You saw your chance to get a little bigger reputation. Matt Dillon, famous gunfighter. Matt Dillon, murderer.
It was your husband that sent the challenge, Mrs. Lassiter. I'm sorry for what happened. And if I can help you in any way...
No, thank you, Mr. Dillon. I only came to tell you that you haven't heard the end of the Lassiter name. I'm going to see that you're stripped of that big reputation. And you're going to die.
Mrs. Lassiter, is there anything I could say that you'd listen to?
Nothing.
And good day, madam.
Till we meet again. Marshal.
So begins another Gunsmoke, high-level drama played against the authentic background of Dodge City, the wildest and most colorful town of the Old West.
So if you were a company that might want to spend some money with CBS, that may be the tape you heard when a salesman came around to tell you, hey, you need to get on the Gunsmoke bandwagon. While we have that part of the archives open, let's listen again to the two actors who might have played Matt Dillon. Here's Rye Billsbury in the first audition done in 1949.
When I opened my eyes, I was in a place I'd never been before. Kind of cottonwood clearing. I'd eased the wound in my shoulder, and from across a smoldering campfire, I saw her. The girl from the White Buffalo. The morning sun lighted up the features of a man at her feet. It was Senor Rafael Ramon Jose Contuarius. And the bullet hole in the middle of his forehead gave him an extra flourish. Now it was Senor Rafael Ramon Jose Contuarius deceased. And the pretty senorita was singing a love song.
And later that year, the same show with a different actor doing the second audition, this time Howard Culver.
When they pinned a marshal's badge on me, they said I had a job to do. This morning, my job was a man with a bullet hole in his forehead and a marshal with a wound in his shoulder. The dead man was Rafael Ramon Jose Contuarius, and the marshal was me. And there was a girl named Tamar.
You have slept long, Chico, without dreams.
How do you know there were no dreams, Tamar?
Because I saw death give you a little piece of himself. I knew him.
Well enough to kill him?
I did not kill him. Senor Contuarius was my protector.
What did he protect you from? Himself?
Just imagine if Rye Billsbury or Howard Culver had been Mark Dillon. The show would have sounded different. Might not have run 9 years. I like to think it was William Conrad, who didn't carry the show by himself, but he was capable of such a depth of kindness and nastiness. That's one of the things that made Gunsmoke work. And that's it for this time around. I'm Dennis Daly. Thanks for joining me on Gunsmoke Theater as we go back into the archives to play more of the episodes of the radio show that changed everything for the better. Gunsmoke, right here on YouTube.